Hey students, this is just a quick tutorial just to assist with those who need a little bit more assistance with getting through this first part, which is getting your sides onto the site and then extruding your box. So first things first, we open up the site key so that we have the site in its overall nature. Go to File, and then import the faces. We want to import these profiles because they are what we're going to use to create our box. So let's assume I'm number 10, I have someone to the next to me, number 9, and someone on the other side of me, which is number 11. We've coordinated and we've decided that we're going to use this shape, this profile, and this profile. So first things first, we're going to highlight our shape. My shortcut is holding left and dragging to create a selection box. When you go from the left, you can select anything that the line touches or is inside the lines. If you go from the right, it only does what's inside. So that's why I go from the left. So once I've had that selected, I can type in move, command, and I can move this to where I need it to be. And mine is 10. So notice how it automatically wanted to connect to this endpoint or intersection. The reason for that is because I have my O snap-on, which is similar to different connection points that your cursor would automatically want to connect with, sort of like a magnet. When these aren't selected, if I deselect these and try to move, use the move tool, it won't connect to my corner. No matter how hard I try, it won't get to the corner. And then when I get to my space, it will not connect properly to that intersection. And that's why we keep our O snap-on and have different connection points that are relevant to what we need. So in this instance, I need an endpoint, a point, and an intersection. And that's how I can get it to sit in that spot. Once we have our shape there, this is the black curve. If it's ever deselected, just click on the line and you want to select the black curve and this one. And then we want to rotate it in 3D. We want to rotate it using our perspective view. And we want to look at this like a book. When you open a book, you want the axes or hinge point to go in the direction that you want it to go. So if I want this to be upward, and I think of this like a closed book, this would be my axes or rotation point that I need the profile to rotate around. So I would have my starting point, the base, and the line to which I wanted to rotate along. Click again, a circle shall appear, and it will help you figure out which direction you want to go in. Go to the top of the shape, and then start rotating. Once you've done that, you can hold Shift, and it'll automatically snap in 90 degrees, or you can type in the degrees up here in the reference point area. If you don't know the exact degree, you can always use Shift if it's just precisely 90 degrees. Always click before you let go of Shift, or you'll run into the problem of this. If I let go of Shift before I click, it will move on its own back to where it wants to be. Because more than likely, your cursor is not going to be exactly at 90. So if you let go of Shift first, it will snap back in a different direction. No matter how precise you think you are, it will move. So hold Shift, click first, then let go of Shift. Next step is to make sure it's on the correct side. So although I need this profile, I need to make sure it's on the right side that I need it for. So yes, it's upright, but I really need it on this side to where I'm connected to my partner. So I would just rotate 3D again and choose a new rotation axis. In this case, I want my book to open this direction. So I would have to identify a new axis or rotation point, which would be along here. That way I can now rotate it in this direction. So now it's on the side that I need it to be. And don't worry, if for whatever reason your team decides that you don't want it to be facing that way, you need it to be facing the other way. You can still have a 3D rotation pointing in the other direction, and then use the move command and move it to where you need it to be. So it accommodates whoever in whatever situation. Next is my other piece, which is this one. So when I click on it, it only collects segments. So the best way to resolve this without thinking too hard is holding shift so you can select multiple pieces at once and using the move tool. So now I've got it and I'm moving it and I bring it to my 10. I rotate 3D. I create the axes to which I want to rotate along. Hold shift, snap. I need to put it on the other side, create a new axis, hold shift. Alright, and just for kicks, I'm gonna have one more side, and that will be my front. I want it to be this. Move tool, rotate 3D. My hinge point is the bottom. The direction is vertical. So I have 3 sides of a complete cube. So there are 2 ways to complete the cube, but the one way is to create surfaces. So if you come here, you'll see surface, and you can draw out that back surface to create a square. That's one way to do it, and then you just kind of create those additional squares as needed. Or you can come here to box and create the inner box that your faces will sit upon and bring them to the top of your profiles so that it aligns perfectly. So if you did this correctly, you should have a perfect square with no protruding edges. You can always change how you see the box. Sometimes it comes wireframe, sometimes it becomes ghosted, sometimes it's just shaded and you can't see through at all. And you can continue to change it depending on what you need. Obviously avoid the more artistic-y ones because it will slow down your computer like that. So we're just gonna stick to ghosted so that we can see what's going on today. Next, let's start making our extrusions that can be subtracted. An extrusion is basically a 3-dimensional rendered shape. So basically a cube is an extrusion of a square. A pyramid is an extrusion of a triangle. A cylinder is an extrusion of a circle. Those are what extrusions are. So we need those shapes so that we know what pieces are being subtracted from our overall cube. So let's start with pieces that we can play around with. So let's say for here, these lines create a curve. Rhino identifies these as curves, and that wording is relevant because what we want to do is we want to not make a box, but make an extrusion from the curves. So now I can decide how deep, how far I want this piece to go. Avoid too many overlaps, but overlaps are good as long as there are no conflicts. And I'm going to show you. So right now I want this one to go all the way to the back. So if I was to type in 24 feet, it should reach all the way to the back of my cube. for this one, since it's multiple segments, I can select it. I can type join so that it can be read as one segment, one curve. And then we do it again, and I want this to go through it, but not go all the way to the end. So let's make that 18. So it goes through, but it doesn't go all the way to the end. There's still some space. And there's no major conflicts. This is something that can work. So now my last curve, I want to do the same thing. Let's see if I can bring this curve out and make that 18 also. So that's where I'm at with this. I've made all my extrusions inside my cube so that I can start taking them out of my cube. These are all complete shapes. And now we're just gonna carve out the pieces. Sort of like a pumpkin. It's still a pumpkin, but now the important stuff is pulled out of it. So to do that, we want to do a Boolean difference. The first thing is select the object or polysurface. This is considered a polysurface, meaning more than one surface, that you want to subtract from. That keyword is very important because subtract from means that we're taking it from this piece. We're not starting with these individual extrusions, we're starting from the overall cube. So we select that first. Once we've done that, we press enter. And now we select what we're subtracting with. And those are those new extrusions that we've created. 1, 2, and 3. So we're gonna attempt to make the Boolean difference, enter. And there we are, our Boolean difference. It gets complicated, it gets complex, it looks magnificent. Be excited! But then you might look at it like, oh, I don't really like how it does this. Or you might really like how it does that. As long as you still have everything together, you can undo what you just did. You can undo the extrusions as far as you want, that is Control Z. And you can decide, okay, I actually don't want that to go as far as it did. I actually want it to go up into the face of this extrusion. So you can always rotate and try to, get as close as possible. That's why these little snap points are so important. Or you can type in the difference. If we know this is a 24-foot cube, that means 24 minus 18, I have about 6 left, about 6 feet left, so it hits the face of that cube. Math is fun. It's all good. So now I have this, and now I can do the same thing with my Boolean difference and see what I get. Then click my extrusions, enter, and now I've created something different. This is a new feeling, a new environment, and it still has the same dynamic nature. And this is where I would love everyone to be at by Friday. That way, we can work towards the next steps in getting this to presentation worthiness, or to complete part 1.1. But either way, I'm excited to see what you all create. Alrighty, have a great day.